Welcome to Shul.com. We are learning the laws of Shabbat with Rabbi Nachson, and we are up to page 54, cutting nails on Erev Shabbat. Now, he's number 46. It is proper to cut one's nails specifically on Erev Shabbat, and if that's not possible, then one may also do so on Thursday. He brings down over here that in the Ben Ish Chai says that one does not have to cut one's nails every week, and it suffices to even cut one's nails once every 2 weeks. Chacham Ovadia Yosef was known that he liked to prepare himself on Thursday, and he would cut his nails on Thursday. Now, number 47. According to Sephardic custom, it is permitted to cut one's fingernails and toenails on the same day. One needs not to worry about cutting it on separate days. And on the bottom, he brings down Machzik Beracha 260-4 and Mekaptziel in Lech Lecha 2-31. States that since the Arizal was not stringent to not cut them on the same day, one does not have to be stringent. This is unlike the custom brought in the Mishnah Berurah 260-6. However, Halacha Berurah in volume 15, page 18 states that one may only cut them on the same day if he did not have time to cut his toenails on Thursday. So Halacha Berurah is a little more strict in saying that he can cut on the same, that he may only cut them on the same day if he didn't have time to cut them on Thursday. Okay, number 48. One may cut his nails in the regular order, and one does not have to cut them out of order. However, one should cut the fingernails on his right hand before cutting the fingernails on the left hand. So he's saying here that you can cut them in the order. Let's take a look at the notes on the bottom. 62. The Ramah 260-1 brings a custom that one should not cut his nails in order. The Abu Darham in Seder Netilat Tzipornaim, page 368, explains that one who cuts his nails in order can bring upon himself poverty, forgetfulness, and even can cause premature death to one's offspring if he cuts his nail in order. Wow. However, many great poskim neither heed this warning nor do they state that one is obligated to abide by this custom brought down by the Abu Darham. The Magen Avraham in 260-1 goes as far to state that the Arizal himself made fun of this custom and was not worried about cutting his nails in order. The Birkei Yosef 260-5 states that the Sfaradim are not particular about this custom and that one may cut his nails in order. He also says, look at the Petach HaDevir in 260-6, who state that this is also the opinion of the Shulchan Aruch, unlike the Ramah in 260-1. See also the Kaf HaChaim, the Yaskil Avdi, or the Tzion Halacha Berurah. In any case, the Pelio Etz in Erech Giluach states that one has nothing to lose if one is stringent and does not cut his nails in order. So he ends with the Pelio Etz saying that if you could do it, but there's absolutely no issue with cutting fingernails in order and toenails, and even on the same day. 49. After cutting one's finger or toenails, one must wash his hands. This is required even if he did not cut all of his nails. 50. The Gemara states that a pregnant woman, in regards to cutting of the nails, on another thing, it's not written here, but Cham Musafi brings down that you do not need to use a keli at all whenever you're washing your hands, except for 2 instances. When waking up from sleeping, particularly in the morning, you wash besirugin, 1 wash on each hand for a total of 6 or 8 times, if you want to do 4 on each side. And before you eat bread, you do 3 on each side. Those are the only times you need to use a keli. According to Rav Musafi, every other time that you need to wash your hands, no matter what the reason, bathroom, nails, or any other purpose, you do not need a keli at all. He's very clear on this, and he doubles down and triples down that all the rabbis and Porat Yosef did it this way. So anyone who's saying that you need a keli for all those situations, he says it was not the custom of Yeshivat Porat Yosef or the rabbis there to use a keli for those instances, except for the 2 mentioned earlier. 50. The Gemara states that a pregnant woman can possibly miscarry if she steps on a fingernail. The Gemara is brought down in Nida 17a. It's also in Moed Katan 18a. Now, for this reason, as an extra precaution, some people are careful to burn their nails or bury them. Flushing the nails down the toilet or placing the nails in the sink and flushing them down with water suffices as well. If one cuts his nails and one of the nails fell and cannot be found, then one should sweep the floor, since according to some opinions, if one moves the nails from the original place from where they fell, there is no longer any danger. So if someone's cutting his nails in the bathroom and they dropped on the floor, he doesn't know to sweep it all up, and you don't have to worry. 51. One who is an Avel may not cut his nails even on Erev Shabbat until the Shiloshim, unless the Shiloshim falls out on Shabbat. Okay, washing one's body on Erev Shabbat. 52. It is a mitzvah for one to wash his body with warm water on Erev Shabbat. If that is not possible, then one should at least wash his hands, feet, and face in warm water. If one does not have warm water, then one may even wash himself with water that is room temperature. Cold water, however, should not be used. 53. It is also a mitzvah for a woman to wash herself before Shabbat. Okay, 54. When washing one's self, one should begin with washing one's face, then one's hands, and only afterward one's feet. So I heard one time a rabbi state this, that when a person goes in the shower, he should put his head first into the water. So I told him that, you got to put your hand first to first feel the temperature, not to do it. And I said there's actually a proof, because if you look in the Torah, it says that you have to wash, that the Kohanim washed yadav, panav, and eglav. That first it was their hand that they washed, they felt the temperature, then panav, then his face, and then raglav. So that was what I told him. And I said to him, that's not that you have to, that the head is always the ikad, because this is where the soul is. The soul is in the head. So you wash that first, but first you have to feel the water with your hands, rinse the hand quick, and then do it. And he agreed. So 54. 55. Immediately after washing oneself, one should dress into his Shabbat clothing. Therefore, one should wash himself closer to the onset of Shabbat and not too early in the day, in order that one's Shabbat clothing will remain clean until Shabbat. Of course, you want to shower before Shabbat, but if you're in a household of 5, 7, 8, 10 people, you probably want to take a Shabbat shower earlier so you have enough water. Or today, they're putting now the tankless water heaters so you get unlimited hot water, but still, do it earlier. 56. One may wash his body with warm water and soap on Erev Shabbat Chazon. Okay, so he says you could take a hot shower with soap. 57. One who is unable to wash on Erev Shabbat should do so on Thursday night, or at the very least on Thursday morning. If possible, one should wash himself on Friday, since that would be more evident that one is doing so in honor of Shabbat. And he brings down a few halachot from a few sources. Halacha berurah Yalkut Yosef Shabbat. I asked this to Chacham David Yosef, and he told me that Chacham Obadiah, for his characteristic, for whatever it was, he used to cut his nails on Thursday night, and he would shower on Thursday night and try to avoid showering on Friday. Not that you should do that. It's just that for whatever reason, his personality, certain things that Chacham David mentioned to me, that caused him to do it. So there is permission to do such a thing if that speaks to you, or if that has to work with the way that you're living. 58. It is praiseworthy to immerse in a mikveh on Erev Shabbat, preferably beginning an hour before Chatzot and not beforehand. So he says you should go to the mikveh, but not before Chatzot. So those who go Friday morning early, before Tefillah or right after Tefillah, they might be doing it earlier than the time mentioned here. So he says here, do it either an hour before Chatzot or possibly afterwards. 59. One should give himself ample time to wash himself before Shabbat and not do so only a few minutes before the onset of Shabbat. 60. An Avel during Shiva may not take a hot shower even on Erev Shabbat. So during the 7 days, he can't take a hot shower. He may only wash his hands, his feet, and face with cold water, and not his entire body. Okay, interesting. Let's go to the next subject, which is wearing fine clothing on Shabbat. This is an interesting one. Let's take a look at the details of it, and then we'll discuss it. 61. One must dress in clean and proper clothing in honor of Shabbat, and in order to have a constant reminder that it is Shabbat. It is especially praiseworthy to have clothing which is set aside for Shabbat and is not used during the rest of the week. This is also the case for women as well, that a person should have a designated closet of clothing, white shirts or any type of shirts that he designates that is specific for Shabbat. A lot of times this gets intermixed when and interchanged when you start to use suits for Shabbat, for weddings, or for other occasions. And so a person should be careful. A person should have a few items that he designates that I'm just going to wear this only on Shabbat. 62. Even though one should not use his Shabbat clothing during the week, it is customary to dress in one's Shabbat clothing when attending a seudat mitzvah, such as a wedding, brit milah, or pidyon haben. So he mentions here that there is a custom to wear Shabbat clothing in those cases. I learned from at least one of my rabbis, Rabbi Mansour, that he has a designated closet for Shabbat suits, and he had his designated weekday suits. Being that he was a rabbi and he wore suits every day, he didn't interchange them from what he told us. If you look at 84, it says this is evident from the ruling of the Ramah, also the Minhageh Maharil, Hilchot Nisuin, Avnei Yoshve, Halacha Berura, and he brings a few others of it. Now, it's important to note that you should be careful with this, only because if you start wearing your Shabbat suits at all these events, it might carry itself to other places, so just be aware. It's always good to have a Shabbat set of clothing and a weekday set of clothing. 63. One should be dressed in his Shabbat clothing before Shabbat begins. When dressing, one should state that one is getting dressed for the honor of Shabbat, saying Lichvod Shabbat Kodesh. 64. Even if one is alone for Shabbat, he should change into Shabbat clothing, since one is dressing for the honor of the Shabbat and not because of people who may see him. So he's honoring the time and the entrance of the day of Shabbat, not just the people that are visible around him. 65. It is praiseworthy for one to have a talit that is solely used on Shabbat. 66. According to the Kabbalah, one should only wear white on Shabbat and particularly avoid wearing black. However, many poskim state that nowadays one should refrain from dressing completely in white, since it's no longer a formal way of dress, even amongst the great Chachamim, and it gives the impression that the wearer is trying to show his greatness. If one is concerned about wearing a black suit because of Kabbalistic reasons, you should wear gray, brown, or blue one instead. 90. Let's take a look at the notes on the bottom. Site Shivot Panim Me'irot 1-152, who states that the custom of wearing white does not apply today, since it is not the norm to wear only white in public anymore. See also Ruach Hayim of the Kaf HaChaim Palachi 262-2, who adds that one who does so in a place which is not accustomed to wearing white on Shabbat is considered that he's acting hori, and he says not to do it. It's interesting because I've been to places where most people are actually wearing white. I've been to shuls where you would say a good 80% are doing that. I've been to places where nobody does it, and I've been to places where mikubalim wear all black on Shabbat, even though it's brought down in Sfarim not to. So there's so many different customs to this. But he says if that speaks to you of not wearing black, then wear another color suit. I know that the Ben Ish Hai, I remember, brings down not to wear black. But it's interesting, I know of major mikubalim that wore black, and they were not particular to that. It could be also that they wore other garments that were white, just not maybe the outer ones. 67. There is no requirement to have shoes that are special for Shabbat, but it is praiseworthy to do so. Even if one does not have special Shabbat shoes, it is proper to clean one's shoes and polish them before Shabbat. 68. One may shine his shoes on Erev Shabbat Chazon like he would on a regular Erev Shabbat. 69. It is praiseworthy to even have pajamas that one uses only on Shabbat. 70. One does not need to have a special rain jacket or overcoat for Shabbat, since its main purpose is to keep one from getting wet and is taken off when one enters a building. And so it's not halakha l'maaseh. I do know of a few stories of the Gedolim, at least one of them in Sfat, who used to have a special Shabbat jacket that he would wear. I had a custom also in New York where I had a special Shabbat jacket, and it made sense because after shul we would all walk home with the rabbi, and everyone was wearing Shabbat clothing. So why would I want to wear my weekday jacket? So you get another one if a person can afford it, and it's not a big deal. It gives an extra kavod for the Shabbat. Not a requirement, but something nice. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen v'amen.